Hi everyone, just another update on the new layout. As you can see, I have now completed the laying of the cork. So we have cork all the way around the baseboard. Some places it's a little bit patchy, just over there and down here, but generally it's continuous sheets. It's it's one roll uh, for each sheet there. So we've completed that now. So it's all nice and smooth. It's all been glued down. All the glue's now dry. And as you can see, I started to mess around with sort of track formations. The GCR station that it was over there last time you saw it. It's now in its proper place over this side of the layout. This piece of wood down here, it marks the front of the board, so the scenic area from the fiddle yard type area at the back. So the two Great Western lines will come down here through a tunnel down here, round the back, split out then into loops, rejoin back into two lines and spin around the corner there, back out the tunnel, and the two GCR lines come out round the front of the scenic area, through the station, under the bridge, and then back round there and join a set of point work over here. And there's another set of complicated point work over here where the four lines diverge, and when they come together again over here there's more complicated point work, so that trains can move around depending on which track we need it to be in. By the time, if it wants to get into the loco shed, the loco shed's over there. If it wants to get into one of the platforms, we're going to have 4 platforms over here. So the point work here is basically the lead up to the station throat, so we can move things around to get it into whatever platform we like over here. Then when it leaves the railway, the main station, it comes right back through this point work here, and again can move depending on which line we want it to be in, whether we want it to come around the front or go through the tunnel down here. So this board that we see here is kind of temporary. It was left over from the old layout, but it's kind of not quite the height, but it's kind of what I have in mind for there. So it's kind of a hard back wall, effectively. So we have the two GCR main running lines, a loop line here, and so the signal box needs to go on that side. Then the loop line comes back into the main GCR running line here. Just here we've got a crossover that takes it straight across there, so trains on this line can come straight through into the goods yard. Trains on this line will have to come through this single slip down here, reverse, then back up across here, and then they can come through down here. So it means that there's no facing point there, so the trains coming this way just go straight through. It's a crossover for trains coming this way, and all the point work is non-facing, and apparently according to Chris that's what I should be doing. So there we go. So that's a single slip there. Then we come into a double slip, so then trains can come into the reception siding, which will be the first one down here. Then they can reverse back up through this point work here into 2 head shunts, which will go off down here. We can dump the loco down here, shunt the goods wagons then into whatever siding we need them in here. So there's going to be 4 sidings down here, 1 reception and 3 sidings for storing the goods wagons. Here's the goods shed. So that's going to roughly go there, but of course there'll be a line going through it, and the other 3 actually will be this side of it. So that's kind of coming on quite nicely. Ignore the the diesel depot there and the bits and pieces for the engine shed there in the wrong corner. I moved them over there while the glue was drying for the cook there. So most of that kit that you can see there actually goes off into that corner. I might have a small diesel depot down here. I've got 4 diesel locos, I think, all sort of early diesels in green mostly. So we might have a small diesel depot down here. I'm not sure yet. There's a little bit of point work that I'm trying to mess around with over there to see what actually can fit in and does it look alright. Now, just to test the curves coming down here from these lines, I thought it was going to be really tight. So I grabbed a couple of third radius curves, that set track curves that I had from my old layout, and I placed those on there just to see exactly what curvature I have and can play around with. And actually, it's not as tight as I thought it was going to be. If I use third radius curves, it actually it gives me a lot more room. So the piece of flexi track you see next to it is going to be bent round here in a gentler curve to get the GCR lines through and round. So it's not as tight as it first appears. So that's good news. So this week is mainly going to be laying track, I think. So here we are. We've got some drawing pins, and somewhere here we are. I've got some copy decks. So I'm going to be using the same method of track laying as Chris at Sherwood Central or Whetstone now. So we're going to lay track straight onto the cork using copy decks, and then hold it in place while the copy decks dries using drawing pins. And then when the copy decks is dry, we take the drawing pins out and we're all done. So that's the plan, really. Then behind the scenes over here, we're going to lay the siding, see how many I can actually get in here nicely. There's enough room to kind of get my hand underneath, so we're not going to worry about that. Point motors, on the other hand, are a bit of an issue. So I think up in the coal mine area, which is going to be up here, so below is the Great Western main lines and the 4 or 5, depending on how many I can fit in loops for the Great Western lines. Then there's a board that's going to come across the top, and on top of that will be the coal mine. So, as I said, the point motors are going to be a bit of an issue for space underneath. So I might have to use surface mount point motors up the top level, but I might be able to get away with the surface mount ones by disguising them, because there's going to be all sorts of junk and bits and bobs laying around all over the place in the coal mine. It's not built to sort of mainline standards. So there's going to be oil drums and all sorts of gubbins all strewn all over the place. So we might be able to disguise the surface mount point motors quite a lot. But I think that's the way forward for the top level. So there's going to be a board then that runs the whole length of this top section, but to halfway where this board is, with a hole here for the Great Western lines to come through, and a hole down the other end for the Great Western lines to come through. But apart from that, it's just going to be like a plain board, maybe with brickwork on this side to give the idea that it's a retaining wall. And then when we get down here, it will be kind of a hillside going down to kind of disguise the break there. And again, this side, there's going to be a hillside coming down where the Great Western lines come in, so it kind of builds up to the level I need it. Now, originally I was going to have a line coming up from over here to the upper level on an incline. I've measured it, it's not great. I think it would have been just too steep to get a line up there. So I've moved the incline to this side, and we're going to have a curve point which starts over here, and then the incline starts way back there and is much gentler to get to this top section. So imagine the top section has been spun round 180, so now the lines come in this side and go down there rather than coming up that side. So there's going to be some nice long sidings up here, but there's also going to be quite a lot of buildings going on up here. We might even throw a little town scene up into the corner, a couple of cottages or something, I don't know yet. But certainly there's going to be quite long sidings that come together into kind of a head shunt down here. There's going to be a little goods, not goods shed, sorry, a couple of engine sheds up here for the locos that to get serviced, as the ones that bring up coal, the empty wagons, etc., and taking the full ones down. And also there's going to be a saddle tank that lives up here permanently, so that's going to have an engine shed for itself up there. But aside from that, there's not a great deal more to do to the baseboards really. Maybe paint the edges black or something, but that's maybe for another day. And then we kind of start to build the control panels, I think, or at least start to think about where they go. But that's kind of it for the time being. So yeah, I'm really excited about starting to get these tracks in place and laid down. I've got millions of these rail joiners. There's loads of those ones. I've got plastic ones as well, insulation ones, just here. So I've got the drawing pins, I've got the copy decks. I've got a basic idea of how this wants to look, or I need this to look. So I might just start by building this section down here. So we've got a kind of a fixed point, and then we can spread off both sides, spring off from that, and then work our way around the board. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this up and the track down, because it also gives me an opportunity to start running some stuff, even if it's just around this little section here. At least I can get something moving on the layout, which has kind of not happened for over a year now. So I'm actually quite looking forward to that. Anyway, you might have noticed I've got like a track setter tool in here. That's a straight one, so we can just push that all the way along the lengths of flexi-track, just to make sure they're absolutely dead straight, so we don't get any kinks, especially around the station area, because that will just hit the platform. Trains will hit the platform if it's not right. I've got my track cutters over there. I've got some power feeds, the fish plate ones down here, so the power feeds will come in. There's going to be one set of feeds just there, so that when these points are thrown for the main line, we can just move things in and out and round in here off this power feed just here, through the head shunts, etc. Right at the end of the reception siding, which is going to be around about here, this will be the end, there'll be an isolating section, so the loco that's brought whatever in can just get dropped off the front. Another one can come out from the head shunt, pick up the goods wagons, take them out, drop them into the right road, etc. Then this loco can get out of here back to wherever it came from, or do whatever we want with it. And down the head shunts as well, a couple of isolating sections, so again we can just back a loco in while there's a loco waiting, just to give a bit more usability of those sidings. So I won't bore you any longer. I'm going to finish the rest of that cola. Other soft drinks are available, of course. Finish the rest of that and get these this point work all kind of in place exactly. Draw around it with the marker pen, and then we can start cracking on. Probably won't lay anything tonight, but I certainly might drill some holes for point motors. Even though I haven't got enough point motors, every point is going to have the hole ready to take a point motor, so that when I do buy them, I haven't got to lift any track. It's all done, and I just drop the motor or push the motor up from underneath, and we're all good. Anyway, enough waffle from me. Catch you later.